How much does an entrepreneur make per hour? See, that's actually a tricky question because as an entrepreneur, sometimes you can make zero and sometimes you can make, let's say, $10,000 per hour. So by the end of this episode, you'll know what you need to do so that you have less hours making zero and more hours making 10,000. So you've probably heard the phrase work on your business, not in your business, okay? So that is true. I teach that a lot on this channel. When you're working on your business though, you're making zero per hour. And so you're like, what? When you're working in your business, you're actually doing sales or you're actually fulfilling on the service or the product that you sold to your client. That's where revenue comes from. When clients pay or you're providing them what they're paying for, that's where that exchange of value is. And so those are the activities that generate revenue. When you're working on your business, you're creating a system or you're creating processes that other people can run. And so technically, if you're creating a system that other people run, they're working in the business and therefore they're generating revenue. Now, I wanted to make that distinction, but that's actually not the focus of this video, working on your business. We're going to be talking about the tasks you can do when you're working in, because some of those tasks are zero and some of those tasks can make you $10,000 an hour. And I also want to introduce one more thought before we talk about that, and that's that money should not be the focus. Okay, if money is the end game for you wanting to be an entrepreneur, just don't do it. Don't become an entrepreneur because yeah, money is a result. Money is actually a tool. It's the exchange of value. So value and providing value and making a difference in the world, leaving a legacy, that should be the end goal for you in creating your business and succeeding in your business. Now, I love the use of money. I enjoy money. I love wealth and what it can do, but don't fall into the trap of having that be your goal. Have a higher purpose. So I could list off dozens or even hundreds of different tasks that I do throughout the day. Let's just think about some obvious ones. What about when I open my email inbox? How much am I making per hour as I'm deleting spam emails? Man, deleting spam, those are just a distraction. I'm making zero per hour when I do that. If I'm responding to inquiries or things like that, maybe that is a profitable thing. Maybe for every email that I respond to, it results in a sales call, which results in sales. So compare that to being on a phone call or on a Zoom call. Let's say I'm having a conversation with a prospect who's interested, who is a good fit for my services. So that's time well spent. I might make a $500 sale. I might make a $10,000 sale right in that phone call. So that's generating a lot of revenue for the business. So an exercise that is really helpful to do, and I've done this many times over the years, is just to create a list, like write down all the different things that you do throughout a day or throughout a week, and then try and assign a dollar amount to it. Like how much per hour do I make when I'm doing this task? And how much do I make per hour when I'm doing this task? Go through all of them and then do some math to try and figure out, okay, how many hours am I dedicating to each of these tasks? What I typically find when I do this exercise is there are tasks that I'm spending way more time in than I should. If it's like a $5 an hour task and I'm putting in 10 hours a week at doing that, yeah, that's a task that I should either eliminate or hire somebody else to do if it is a really important task. If you want to increase the amount that you're making per hour, then you've got to increase the amount of hours you're working doing those higher value tasks. Now, earlier in the video, I mentioned making $10,000 per hour as an option, and that's about the most that I make in an hour right now. How do I do that? That's when I fulfill on my service and I'm providing coaching and consulting. And that makes sense because that's where I'm really being put to the fullest use, that no one else in my company can do that. People hire me and my company for specific services, and when they need consulting, that's what they come to me for. So you might think it's just a simple decision. All right, well, if I can do that task and make $10,000 an hour, why don't I just do that for 40 hours per week? Well, it doesn't quite work that way. There's all the other tasks that lead up to me having clients that lead up to those coaching calls. So if I have 10 clients and I'm doing 10 coaching calls in a month, well, then there's 10 hours that I'm working at that rate. But then there's lots of other tasks that lead up to that as well. Entrepreneurship is not get rich quick. It is not. Entrepreneurship is a long-term game. You've probably heard a certain percentage of businesses that fail in the first year. You've probably heard another percentage of businesses that fail within the first 5 years. If you really want to increase the amount that you make as an entrepreneur, you've got to be with it for a long time. You've got to develop that entrepreneurship wisdom, the skills that you need. You've got to develop that momentum. When people talk about quitting their job and starting a business, becoming an entrepreneur, there's often a lot of feeling of risk. Well, what is the main risk? The main risk in the beginning is when you had a job, you had guaranteed income. Now, as an entrepreneur, you don't have a guaranteed income. And typically, in the first year, you're not making a whole lot. A lot of people define entrepreneurship as like high risk, high reward. So if you're willing to take this high risk, well, then you'll get this high reward. And while I can agree to that to a degree, I'm not a big risk taker. I'm very risk averse, or I love to mitigate my risk. Now, I'm not afraid of failing. I just love to try things, and I don't intentionally do things that I think are going to fail so I can learn. No, I try and make decisions of things that I think will work, and when they don't work, I try and understand why, and I try something different until I can find success with that. So when I started this company 13 years ago, it was a risk that I took. I had a job. It was a sales job, telemarketing, and on the side, I had started designing websites, and in the previous month, I had made $350. And I quit my job. So I gave up that expected kind of guaranteed income, but I had tested things and it was a risk because I didn't know, am I going to be able to make ends meet and pay the bills? And fortunately, it was a risk that was successful. So if you've gotten to this point in the video and you're thinking, man, when is Nate going to share something valuable? I admit I'm kind of struggling. I really wanted to film this topic. I think it's a very important topic to cover, but it's been a hard one for me to deliver here. So I apologize for that. I've got one more point that I'm hoping that you can take to heart, okay? And this is a skill that relates to sales that if you implement this skill and you focus on this every time you're having a sales conversation, it will make a drastic difference in your business. And that is to sell benefits and outcomes, not features. When we have a product or service or any program, we have a tendency to describe all the ins and outs, like how it works, the different colors, the different options, the varieties, the different steps that are taken. And it's important that we know those things, that we have access to that information, or that our prospects do. But when we're talking to them, we're talking about the outcome that those steps taken will get them. So if they're stuck here and they're trying to get here, yeah, there's a lot of steps to get there, the specific shapes and colors, but they really need to focus on that and knowing that it's a reality. The last thing that I want to talk about is the strategy I teach in this book. There's a lot of other YouTube experts out there and they teach you how to make money, but you typically have to get 1 million views to generate an amount like $10,000. And what I teach in this book is how you can generate $10,000 with just 100 views. So I want to give you a copy of this book for free as long as you cover my costs. So there's a cost to print and there's a cost to ship it to you, but I don't need any profit on top of that. So that's my gift to you. You can get this by going to natesyoutubebook.com, and that's where you get what's called the free plus shipping offer. If you don't want to do it that way, you can find it on Amazon and pay that full price, but otherwise you can get it from my website. And this strategy will help you make a lot more money in a lot less time.